Hello, welcome to the A Book a Day channel. Today I'm going to interpret for you this book, the masterpiece by the mythologist Joseph Campbell, The Hero with a Thousand Faces. This book was completed in 1948 and has endured for the past 70 years. It has had a profound impact on the course of 20th century Western popular culture dissemination. Hollywood directors, screenwriters represented by George Lucas of Star Wars, and creators and artists alike regard it as a sacred text. Furthermore, many entrepreneurs and leaders constantly refer to it as a spiritual Bible in their life journey, such as former U.S. President Obama and Ray Dalio. The founder of Bridgewater Associates and the author of Principles, he had previously given this book to important national leaders. Of course, the book's most significant influence is on people from all walks of life. This book's enduring appeal across time, cultural differences, and diverse audiences is because Campbell distilled a universal spiritual code that has traversed ancient and modern times from myths and religious stories from around the world over thousands of years. This code is known as the famous Hero's Journey growth model. This model not only helped our ancestors deal with fear and uncertainty brought about by natural disasters and human calamities in less scientifically advanced eras, but also aids each modern individual in facing life's challenges with the power of mythology, becoming a hero in their life's journey, fearless in the face of adversity. The hero with a thousand faces, what does it mean? The author of this book, Joseph Campbell, through his study of various myths and modern psychology, introduced a concept called the monomyth. He believed that heroes throughout history, in different cultures and eras, may have different faces, whether it's Jesus, Buddha, Prometheus, or any independent individual hoping to undergo trials in their life journey. However, the hero's growth follows the same pattern, consisting of 3 stages: departure, initiation, and return. Campbell referred to this pattern as the hero's journey. Although Campbell was not a specialist in academia, he drew from and amalgamated methods from various disciplines. For example, he borrowed from narrative morphology to extract structural similarities in myths and religious stories from various countries. He also borrowed from anthropology to view myths from a ritual perspective, understanding their original purposes and practical effects in ancient times. Freud and Jung's psychoanalysis and archetype theory deeply influenced Campbell, allowing him to explain the psychological significance of mythology for each individual. Because Campbell drew from various schools of thought, and each school had different interpretations of this human civilization artifact called mythology, and because Campbell's research spans such vast civilizations and time dimensions, it is inevitable that later scholars would find some aspects incongruent. Therefore, academic evaluations of Campbell vary. However, like all great thinkers, the flaws do not overshadow the brilliance. What I'd like to share with you here is the positive real-world significance and influence that Campbell and his work have brought to society over the past half-century, as well as the spiritual strength and support they will provide you in the future. Next, let me explain Joseph Campbell's book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces, in 2 parts. In the first part, I will explain the 3 major stages of the hero's journey model, and in the second part, we'll discuss why this book has had such a significant impact. Part 1. First, let me explain the 3 major stages of the hero's journey model to you. The hero's journey model consists of 3 main parts: departure, initiation, and return, totaling 17 stages. These 17 stages have been simplified into 12 stages by later researchers and users, and have become the most common version for explaining the hero's journey. These 12 stages are usually depicted on a clock face, and by moving clockwise around the clock, you complete one cycle of the hero's journey. However, if we were to depict the clock face according to the perspective presented in The Hero with a Thousand Faces, the 12 hours would need to become 17 hours, and the clock hands would need to rotate counterclockwise, from the top to the bottom. This represents the most comprehensive cycle of the hero's journey, as described by Campbell in The Hero with a Thousand Faces. In each part and stage, there are certain iconic events and characters as well as potential outcomes that signify the core code of the hero's journey model. If you can master these stages, you can begin to use this code to view any story, movie, biography, or any individual, including your own life. You can determine where the current plot is, what expected challenges will inevitably arise, and which resources or obstacles to be particularly attentive to. In your everyday life, you can continually examine these core codes and adjust them according to your needs, using the hero's journey mindset to challenge and inspire your own story. In The Hero with a Thousand Faces, Campbell tells us many beautiful mythological stories to explain his points, ranging from the Greek sun god Apollo to the first human epic, the Epic of Gilgamesh, to religious stories like Jesus and Buddha, and even well-known folktales like Sleeping Beauty and the Frog Prince. Just understanding how Campbell integrates and interprets these stories is worth reading The Hero with a Thousand Faces for. To help you understand the entire hero's journey, I have chosen to explain it using the Hollywood film Avatar, a movie many of us are familiar with. Avatar is a science fiction epic directed by the renowned Hollywood director James Cameron. The story is set in the year 2154 in the future, where humans use avatars to explore the distant planet of Pandora for resources. Jake, a former Marine who uses a wheelchair due to an injury, volunteers for an experiment to inhabit an avatar and infiltrate the indigenous Na'vi tribe to persuade them to leave their ancestral home voluntarily so that humans can cut down the pristine forest and mine valuable minerals underneath. However, after Jake befriends the Na'vi princess Nidri, his beliefs undergo a significant transformation. In the end, he leads the Na'vi people in a war against the humans to defend Pandora's natural home. The film was released in 2009 and received critical acclaim, winning 3 Academy Awards and becoming another iconic work for director James Cameron. Following the Terminator series and Titanic, its success is another classic example of Hollywood utilizing the hero's journey model. Fundamentally, regardless of the variations, a hero's story is always a journey. The hero leaves their comfortable and mundane everyday environment to venture into a challenging and unfamiliar world to fulfill a dream. This journey can be an external quest, such as going to a specific location, like a labyrinth, a forest cave, a foreign city, or a country. It can also be an inner transformation that takes place in the realm of the mind, spirit, and inner self. The first part of the hero's journey is called the departure. This part consists of 5 stages, namely the call to adventure, refusal of the call, supernatural aid, crossing the first threshold, and the belly of the whale. The threshold can be understood as the boundary between the ordinary world and the world of adventure. The first small stage of the departure is called the call to adventure. Stories often begin this way. The hero lives in the ordinary world, and suddenly, a mistake or a purely accidental event reveals an unknown world to them, establishing some connection between the hero and a power they do not yet fully understand. This mistake can be seen as the beginning of destiny, a catalyst, a trigger, or an initiator. For example, in Avatar, the protagonist Jake is a disabled ex-soldier struggling to make ends meet on Earth. However, deep within his impaired body, there is a soul that desires to be a hero. At this point, the call to adventure appears. A government official acts as a messenger in the story, finding Jake and asking him to take part in the Avatar program on the planet Pandora as a replacement for his deceased twin brother. When faced with the call to adventure, people in the ordinary world are disrupted by a sudden event. Initially, most individuals tend to refuse this new reality, and this is when the hero's journey enters the stage of refusal of the call. Many heroes in stories need a push, persuasion, temptations, or even a knock on the head to start their adventure, because embarking on such a journey means risking their reputation, everything they already have, and even their lives. However, if the adventure promises an escape from their miserable current life and circumstances, heroes, despite their doubts and strong sense of uncertainty, will eagerly set out on the path. For example, in Avatar, the main character Jake's life on Earth has left him disillusioned, but by becoming an avatar, he not only gets back on his feet, but also gains a more powerful body than before. When the hero faces the unknown ahead, and is not yet prepared to embark on the journey, the role of a mentor comes into play. The mentor assists the hero in making both internal and external preparations, including protection, guidance, training, and even the gift of magical tools. This helps the hero gain knowledge, confidence, and the necessary weapons to overcome fear and begin the adventure. Most importantly, the mentor often gives the hero a push when they refuse the call, propelling them into the journey. Campbell calls this stage supernatural aid. In Avatar, when Jake begins his training to operate as Avatar, he receives help from Dr. Grace Augustine, a highly experienced mentor. Grace is strong-willed on the outside, kind, and compassionate on the inside, and she remains with Jake throughout his unfolding hero's journey. As you read this, you might reflect on your own experiences and consider whether, at key moments in your life, someone provided guidance, gave you a push, and accompanied you on your journey. These mentors are indispensable figures on your life's journey, and you should treasure them. Finally, after the hero has reluctantly embarked on the journey, they enter the stage of crossing the first threshold. This threshold represents the boundary between the ordinary world and the adventure world. This stage often has 2 layers of meaning, representing both a physical change in location, such as Earth to Pandora and Avatar, and a spiritual change in the hero. The hero awakens and discovers their true self and their mission. When Jake first lands on Pandora and encounters the fierce and massive creatures, he enters the unknown forest where danger lurks. This forest symbolizes the threshold he must cross, and the creatures are the guardians of this boundary. Campbell tells us that guardians are strange, peculiar, and intimate forces that pose great dangers to the hero but also promote their growth. After initial panic, Jake quickly regains his courage and wit, using his experience and strategy to defeat the creatures. This marks the hero's commitment to the adventure, leaving no room for doubt, and signifies the hero's willingness to face all contradictions, break from the old self, and retain what is closer to eternity. After crossing the first threshold, the hero enters the belly of the whale, symbolizing a place of rebirth. This is the final stage of the departure, where the hero must shed their old self to enter the new world. Myths and stories use various metaphors to represent the place of rebirth, such as temples, shrines, or coffins. Heroes in these scenarios undergo transformation, like a snake shedding its skin to grow. In Avatar, after passing through the mysterious forest, Jake is captivated by the stunning beauty of Pandora, including towering trees, floating mountains, lush rainforests filled with exotic flora, and bioluminescent creatures. Overcoming his fears and inhibitions, Jake joyfully runs across the alien planet's landscape, knowing that he has found a place where he can reconnect with the roots of humanity. These 5 stages make up the first part of the hero's journey, known as the departure. In this part, the most crucial aspect is listening to your inner self amid the complexity of the environment and information, identifying your true calling, and bravely taking the first step towards change. The second part of the hero's journey is called the initiation. This is often the most significant part of the hero's journey, and it consists of 6 stages: the road of trials, meeting with the goddess, temptation of the siren, atonement with the father, apotheosis, and the ultimate boon. Having crossed the first threshold and passed through the dark belly of the whale, the hero enters the ever-changing and mysterious world of adventure. Here, the hero must endure a series of trials, often the most beloved part of any story or adventure. The first stage of the initiation is the road of trials, marking the beginning of a long and perilous journey, where the hero must overcome difficult obstacles one after another. In this stage, the hero achieves many initial victories, experiencing exhilaration like never before. For instance, in Avatar, the protagonist Jake scares off wild creatures with fire in the forest, loses contact with his group while escaping, and is attacked by a pack of dire horses. He is rescued from imminent danger by the Na'vi princess, who kills the dire horse that threatened him. After successfully navigating the road of trials, the hero will meet with the goddess. The goddess represents anything in the world that is alluring and brings happiness. She is the embodiment of perfection and the assurance of the soul. Whether the returning hero can marry the goddess is often a critical stage in the story, and represents a divine blessing that the hero seeks. In symbolic terms, the goddess also represents all the secrets the hero can know. In Avatar, the Na'vi princess is Jake's goddess. Initially, she tries to kill him when she finds him in the forest, but when an arrow shot by the spirit of evil falls onto his shoulder, she spares him, rescues him, and takes him back to her tribe. Not only does she save Jake's life, but she also imparts extensive knowledge of Pandora to him. For instance, she teaches Jake that the Na'vi's braids can connect with all life forms in the natural world, even enabling them to hear the voices of their ancestors. This revelation helps Jake understand that humans, despite their claims to civilization, have severed their connection to their natural mother and caused a significant ecological crisis. Meeting the goddess also serves as another test for the hero, challenging their ability to win love and accept the love of fate. The third stage in the initiation is temptation of the siren. The siren's temptation symbolizes many unresolved issues in human nature, such as greed, seeking attention, pride, and self-defense. These represent inherent issues in the hero's nature, which may be initially unnoticed or denied, but become strongly displeasing and abhorrent when they are realized or forced into the hero's consciousness. If the hero can overcome the temptations born of their inherent flaws in this stage, they can transcend to another level in their heroic journey. In Avatar, Jake has immersed himself in the Na'vi culture, learning various skills such as archery and riding Ikran banshees. However, he is still grappling with a larger moral dilemma. He was originally sent to infiltrate the Na'vi to convince them to leave the forest for mining operations, which he views as a betrayal of their trust. He delays his mission in the hope of negotiating with the Na'vi to avoid harm to innocent lives. The hero's journey often explores the hero's inner struggles, and this stage tests the hero's ability to overcome their inherent flaws and resist temptations. The fourth stage in the initiation is atonement with the father, marking the hero's growth. The hero not only needs the nurturing embrace of the pastoral goddess, but also must learn to face the complexities and maturity of the world. From a psychological perspective influenced by Freudian analysis, the previous stage of meeting the goddess carries an undertone of challenging the father and competing for universal control, effectively taking the father's place. In this stage, reconciliation with the father allows the hero to enter a broader world. While the goddess represents good and evil, the father symbolizes competition, confrontation, control, and heightened complexity. The father's strength can effectively eliminate the hero's childish obsessions, enabling them to use power fairly and avoid being swayed by subconscious motivations, such as self-preference or resentment. It can even help the hero undergo rebirth, grow into the role of the father, and begin to fulfill the roles of the mentor and guide. The hero is no longer limited to distinguishing between good and evil but can comprehend and experience broader universal principles. In this stage, the hero learns to eliminate unrealistic hopes and fears of adventure, achieving inner peace and understanding the world's revelations. In Avatar, Jake becomes a member of the Na'vi tribe through a sacred initiation ceremony. Originally sent to infiltrate the tribe for intelligence on their forest, he carries immense guilt and feels like a double traitor, torn between the Na'vi and the human world. Through the sacred and ancient ritual of the tribe, he finds redemption and discovers the path he believes is worth fighting for, protecting the Na'vi and their mother nature. In the personal growth of every individual, the ability to comprehend the inevitability of all life and bear the pain of all trials is a sign of true maturity. The fifth stage in the initiation is apotheosis, or contemplating the inner God. At this stage, the hero transcends the fear created by their ignorance, achieving a divine state. The hero has unleashed their potential through trials, and is no longer encircled by pain and pleasure, but instead accepts both. This stage signifies the end of the hero's adventurous ordeals. All obstacles are removed, and the hero gains new wisdom, insight, and another level of transformation. The hero is no longer solely focused on themselves but considers the well-being of the community as a whole. In the apotheosis stage, the hero reaches an epiphany, finding release from past suffering, despair, and secrets hidden within themselves. These revelations lie deep within the hero's consciousness, which they may not have discovered or utilized before. In Avatar, after going through the sacred ritual and initiation into the Na'vi tribe, Jake becomes a true hero. He understands the power of the legendary Torok Makto, the Last Shadow, and the blessings of Iwa. By challenging the Torok, he successfully becomes the leader and protector of the Na'vi. This stage represents the hero's spiritual enlightenment. And after the trials and tribulations of his journey, Jake is reborn and able to embrace his role as the hero. The sixth and final stage of the initiation is the ultimate boon. After all the hardships and trials of the journey, the hero survives and receives the ultimate reward. This is the moment of joy and victory. The hero obtains what they were seeking or what they needed, whether it be treasure, secrets, self-confidence, destiny, or abilities. More importantly, after the journey, the hero gains new energy, knowledge, and insight. This self-awareness allows the hero to see themselves clearly and understand their place in the grand scheme of things. The hero has an epiphany, making their perception more acute and their life more meaningful. In these 6 stages, the initiation forms the second part of the hero's journey. In this section, the most valuable insight for everyone is to believe that no matter the setbacks and trials you face in life, they are all necessary steps in your life's journey. If you can achieve reconciliation with yourself, the radiant you will eventually emerge. The third part of the hero's journey is called the return. This part consists of 6 stages: refusal of the return, the magic flight, rescue from without, the crossing of the return threshold, master of 2 worlds, and freedom to live. When the hero completes their adventure, they need to return with the treasure that can change lives and the world, because the treasure they've acquired has the potential to revive a community, a nation, the earth, or even the universe. However, heroes often hesitate to take on this responsibility, and thus, the hero's journey enters the stage of refusal of the return. Just like how Buddha, after achieving enlightenment, doubted if he could transmit his path to others, many saints and immortals often ascend after reaching their own enlightenment. In mythology and legends, there are indeed many hero figures who choose to reside forever in the blissful and eternal realms. If the hero needs to return to the ordinary world, it signifies that they need to venture once more. However, heroes who have acquired the treasure may enter a period of comfort and stagnation. To return, they must summon the courage to break free from their comfort zone, which requires their inner determination or external forces. This is where the other 2 stages of the third part, the magic flight and rescue from without, come into play. Whether through supernatural powers or a call from the ordinary world, the hero is pulled out of their comfort zone to continue their mission. In Avatar, Jake also goes through a period of hesitation. If he chooses to join the war against the human invaders, he will pay a significant price. When he's not in his avatar, he is in his paralyzed human body. Only through specialized equipment can he return to his avatar. Once he goes against his fellow humans, he loses the ability to re-enter his avatar, and he also loses his goddess, his gift, the Na'vi princess. During his period of hesitation, the human invaders launch an attack on the Na'vi's home, the Tree of Souls. Jake attempts to negotiate with the Na'vi to leave the tree, but they become angry when they learn the truth, especially the Na'vi princess, who is deeply connected with Jake. The Na'vi bind Jake and his mentor, Dr. Grace Augustine, and the Tree of Souls is destroyed along with the Na'vi leader. Next, the hero's journey enters the next stage, the crossing of the return threshold, which is the critical moment in the entire adventure. The hero has to return from the world of adventure to the ordinary world, but to do so, they must cross a threshold once more. Only by returning with the treasure they've acquired can they become a complete person and improve and elevate the entire ordinary world. This stage is a key metaphor in understanding mythology and symbolic symbols. It indicates that the two worlds are, in fact, one. The adventure world is simply a dimension forgotten by the ordinary world, and the essence of the hero's journey lies in exploring this dimension. Campbell stated that not everyone has a destiny, and only those heroes who venture deep into the adventure world encounter fate, and return with the treasure can be considered to bear a destiny. Jake breaks free from the control of the human invaders, rides on the Torach, and reaches the Tree of Souls, the temporary residence of the Na'vi. He persuades the Na'vi to resist, and with his efforts, he finally gains the trust of the Na'vi. He contacts other native species on Pandora and forms a resistance army, defeating the invading humans and driving the mining company away from Pandora. After the hero's return, they enter the next stage, Master of Two Worlds. The hero who returns victorious can freely traverse two worlds, demonstrating a mastery over them. The hero can use another world to understand their own. At this stage, the hero not only sees their own destiny but also that of humanity, and even the destiny of the entire universe. It can be said that they catch a glimpse of the essence of the universe. Now, I've finally led you to the last stage of the hero's journey, freedom to live in the stage. Whether the hero is a butcher, a knight, or a king, they have achieved the ability to gain insight into everything. They act calmly and freely, no longer anxious about the results of their actions. They take the eternal principles they've gained from their adventure as their core. They can surrender the outcome of their actions to a higher power, freeing themselves from attachments and doing what they must without worries. This stage is a metaphor in mythology that signifies the coordination and unity of individual consciousness and the will of the universe, which eliminates ignorance and allows people to understand the relationship between impermanence and immortality. In the conclusion of the story in Avatar, under the leadership of the Na'vi spiritual leader, the Na'vi people use their hair, which connects them to the Tree of Souls, to transfer Jake's soul back into his avatar permanently. He remains on Pandora forever, becoming the leader of the Na'vi and living with his goddess. In his physical body, Jake frees himself from his paralyzed state, gains insight into living in harmony with nature, and finds his destiny, which is true freedom. These 6 stages make up the third part of the hero's journey. The return. The revelation here is that the end point of the hero's journey is not the treasure, wealth, or gifts, but the act of returning and sharing everything gained from the adventure with the community. If this hero's journey is your life's journey, after enduring many trials and tests, you should have become a person of good character, more complete, and learned how to control your weaknesses and harness your positive energies. Your greatest gain is becoming yourself and attaining the freedom to live your life. In the previous part, I spent a considerable amount of time explaining the 3 major stages of the hero's journey model. In this second part, I will discuss why the book The Hero with 1,000 Faces has had such a significant impact and how it became popular. Let's start by talking about the legendary journey of the book's author, Joseph Campbell. His own growth and rise to fame was, in itself, a heroic journey. In the field of contemporary mythology studies, Joseph Campbell is one of the few scholars who wasn't strictly an academic but is still widely recognized as a master in this field. His fascination with mythology began at a young age when he visited the American Museum of Natural History with his father. He became captivated by the mystical power portrayed in various primitive totems and developed an early interest in the lives and cultures of Native American Indians. He could be said to have heard the call of mythology from a very young age. At the age of 19, while traveling with his family in Europe on a cruise, he had a chance encounter with the famous Indian spiritual teacher Krishnamurti. This experience marked a turning point in his life. Campbell recalled, "It was the first time I had ever been given an opening into what a mystical attitude is. It is like a light that is always there. It changed everything." So, in a sense, young Campbell, just like the heroic figures in the myths he later studied, heard the call of destiny and embarked on his own quest. During his days of study in Europe, Campbell developed a deep fascination with James Joyce, one of the greatest writers of the 20th century. Joyce's works often featured a mythic way of thinking, using ancient mythological themes to depict contemporary images. Campbell's admiration for Joyce was so profound that on his wedding night, he held his bride with one hand and Joyce's work Finnegan's Wake with the other. Joyce's presence led Campbell to discover a broader world outside the narrow confines of academia, laying the groundwork for his future influence on popular culture. However, the most significant influence on Campbell was his association with the great psychologists Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung. Jung's theories on the collective unconscious and archetypes had the most profound impact on Campbell's academic thought. Simply put, Jung believed that individuals are not born as blank slates, but inherit a kind of racial memory that contains all the psychological experiences of humanity from ancient times, transcending the personal and encompassing all regions and cultures. This insight led Campbell to recognize the connection between mythology and psychology, sparking his studies in the psychological aspects of myths. He used archetypes to explain why certain familiar characters, events, and symbols appear repeatedly in our dreams and mythological stories. He often described this understanding as myth as the public dream, and the dream as the private myth. After returning to New York in 1929, Campbell, like many others, found himself unemployed during the Great Depression. Unable to find work, he retreated to a small cabin in the woods and dedicated himself to 5 years of reading. During this period, he committed to reading 9 hours a day and consumed a wealth of American modern literature, philosophy, and psychology. He also collected myths and legends from various cultures. This phase of Campbell's life can be seen as his hero's journey, where he honed his expertise by synthesizing knowledge from multiple disciplines and expanding his understanding of mythology. Following this, Campbell was appointed as a literature professor at Sarah Lawrence College, where he began a 38-year teaching career. As a destined hero with his newfound insights into mythology, he returned to society with his spoils of war, his profound understanding of mythology. In all his courses, he incorporated his research into mythology, and soon his Mythology of the Dreaming course became one of the most popular courses at the Women's College. The Hero with 1,000 Faces was translated into more than 20 languages and influenced millions. Time magazine listed the book as one of the 100 most important books of the 20th century. The popularity of The Hero with 1,000 Faces can also be attributed to the devoted fans, including numerous writers, screenwriters, directors, and creators who applied the hero's journey model in their works. This, in turn, extended the reach of the single hero myth theory into contemporary reality. The ancient myths received modern retellings through these works. Joseph Campbell garnered millions of devoted fans through a series of mythological writings, public lectures, and television documentaries. He became a grandmaster of Western pop culture. Those who appreciate Campbell's work can be divided into two main categories. The first category includes artists and creative workers who found inspiration and narrative structure in his writings. One of the most famous examples is the filmmaker George Lucas, creator of Star Wars. Lucas was stuck in his scriptwriting process when he discovered The Hero with 1,000 Faces, and it became a treasure trove for him. Lucas once said, "I came to realize that the real story is more the adventure and the effect it has on the hero rather than the political machinations, and how it's going to change the universe." Campbell's work heavily influenced the storytelling structure of Star Wars, and he became a lifelong mentor for Lucas. Another example is a Disney writer who distilled Campbell's ideas into a 7-page document called The Hero with 1,000 Faces Usage Guide. This document became famous in Hollywood during the 1980s. It was mass-produced and distributed to screenwriters, who were instructed to use it as a reference for storytelling. This 7-page guide evolved into the book The Writer's Journey, which formed the core of screenwriting courses at American film schools, spreading Campbell's hero's journey model to a new generation of storytellers. The impact of this model can be seen in the creation of classic films such as The Lion King, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, The Matrix, and many more. The second category of fans includes those who directly find solace and the power to transcend reality and overcome challenges in Campbell's introduced heroic myths. This list includes former U.S. President Barack Obama and his mother, who were both ardent Campbell fans. J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter, has mentioned Campbell and his works multiple times, stating that Campbell deeply influenced her novel writing. Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, former First Lady of the United States, proudly served as the editor of Campbell's book The Power of Myth and considered it one of her proudest achievements. Numerous writers, artists, and even game programmers hold Campbell in high regard. In the 1980s, Campbell's conversations with the renowned journalist Bill Moyers attracted nearly 3 million viewers. Even in 2011, 24 years after Campbell's passing, a documentary called Finding Joe was released, retelling his theories. It featured a myriad of celebrities, rock musicians, philosophers, athletes, adventurers, and more, all testifying to the significance of Campbell's ideas in their own lives and contemporary society. As for myself, whenever I face important decisions, I make an effort to calm down, temporarily forget my immediate challenges, and open The Hero with a Thousand Faces to read. Campbell's words provide me with a sense of calm that transcends time and space. It can be said that Campbell has unlocked the code of mythological stories, which is also the code of life. Like a beacon of light, it can illuminate the hidden landscapes of life. In conclusion, the content I presented today covers The Hero with a Thousand Faces in its entirety. To recap, first, I used the well-known film Avatar as an example to provide you with a comprehensive and detailed exploration of the three main sections of the hero's journey model: departure, initiation, and return, along with their 17 stages, and the key characters essential in each stage. This should be the most detailed interpretation of the model to date. Next, I provided some background and an external perspective to help you understand why The Hero with a Thousand Faces had such a massive impact and how it became popular. Joseph Campbell's life experiences offer the best context for understanding the hero's journey. The Hero with a Thousand Faces, by Joseph Campbell, is a comprehensive summary of mythological stories from throughout the world's history. It provides insights into the underlying structure of these stories and offers a set of principles for managing life and storytelling. All myths contain profound teachings about life, and you can use this book as a guide for predicting the inevitable ups and downs of your personal journey and for maintaining the heroic spirit to overcome challenges at any time. Congratulations, you've completed another book.